Solomon is the starting point then.
Yes, Solomon, as far as Ethiopian history. But the thing about it is that I'm going to put this forward, that Solomon is not a historical person.
I don't disagree with that.
I agree.
So how can the rest of the lineage be real then?
So that's done.
It's not.
That's done.
It's not, but yes, it is. Like I said, it's a deep state wrapped in Christian cosmology.
All right.
What I realized from observing this history is that the Ethiopian people at some point in their history converted to this thing. But instead of taking the role of conversion, they decide to take what I would say is a main character energy. And with this main character energy, they developed two documents, one called the Feta Negas and one called the Kibra Negas. And these two documents basically took them out of supporting characters in the Christian cosmology and made themselves main characters. But it was also another thing, another part for them doing this thing. It also caused for a certain segment of the Ethiopian people, and even right now, what's happening in the Ethiopia is an answer or even a consequence of this time. It guaranteed that if you wasn't from a certain lineage, you could never sit up on the throne of Ethiopia. Meaning that if you wasn't from the Amra or the Tigray, you would never sit up on the throne. You could never be a Aroma king. No Aroma king in Ethiopia could ever trace his lineage to Solomon. So it's wholly political. It has nothing to do with any type of historical context.
Okay.
But if you
if
you look at it politically, it's brilliant. I love it. It's really brilliant.
Total.
Look at it that way.
So, brethren,
Yes,
so hear me out now. So Solomon was the king, this Greek king of whatever empire, right? But what about the woman? How much do we know about the woman?
Queen Sheba?
Yes. How much do we know about her and where she come from?
Because Queen Sheba.
No, hold on. Listen, that's a crucial part. Maybe she is the centerpiece, and Solomon is a side act.
He is the side act.
Because this woman is coming. She's coming from a mighty empire now, you know.
Yes.
Mighty.
And she comes here to find out who is the architect of Solomon's buildings. Her interest was not in Solomon.
No.
Her interest was in Hiram Abyss.
Yeah.
The architect. But we have been disconnected from the history of Sheba and Makeda, which is taking us out of Africa. And we have been left to follow the mythical Solomon lineage.
And actually, the Queen of Sheba have more historical validity than the actual Solomon.
Yeah.
Because,
bigger.
I was reading pre-colonial African history by Chikanti Diop. And at one point he said in the book that the name Candace, which was the name, is actually not
the lineage,
name, but a title.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lineage.
Yeah, Candace is Candace, or Candace is not a name. It's actually a title and a lineage. Yes,
So how is it as Rastafari? You see, we get distracted, you know, as Rastafari. Rather than stay in the African tradition, we have followed the biblical tradition.
That's the thing.
Yes, and we have left out the mighty empire of the African queen and her religion. Her religion, which is not the one God Moses story. So we have to revisit that break off. Because my reading tells me that when the African queen traveled, they said most of the time those queens were virgins. So they can't so she couldn't come back pregnant.
No.
That is just I'm in a years of reading and gathering. We don't need more to confirm exactly, but that was the general impression. That these queens couldn't leave and visit and come back pregnant. But that's the story we get.
Yeah.
But that story was very intentional. Like I said, that story was very intentional and very purposeful. Because at one point of the story, where they tell you when Ben Alikim, who is Menelik the First, when he absconded with the Ark of the Covenant, that Solomon had a vision. And this is just the authorship. This is literature. Solomon had a vision.
Yes.
Solomon had a vision that said that he see the sun move from Israel and set on Aksum. You check? And he was he was
Yes.
distraught. And the Lord rose up to him and said, "Why weep? Seeing that he kept the covenant and that the Ark of the Covenant, David lying and all this type of reasoning." But lo and these man basically took away all the prestige of the Christendom that they was that they joined in or they were converted to, and now claim say that they're the owners of the faith. That they're now the owners of the faith. So they no longer look into Jerusalem. It's about Ben Alekim, Menelik the First, the establishment. This is all a story, but it's a story with a lot of intentionality and purposefulness to it. It's the story that
Yes.
created Imperial Ethiopia that we come to know.
It's a war campaign.
If it wasn't for this story, Theodorus could not mount an effect and have the Abyssinian and what do you call it, Britain conflict. This is the birth of Imperial Ethiopia as we know it. There couldn't be that Ethiopian deep state without that story. But it's all a story, but it's a brilliant story, and it's no different than any other nation have done.
Tell you, and the thing about the stories, all cultures and civilizations have stories, It's how much they are imposed up. It's how much they are imposed upon your imagination, and their stories have been they have used brutality to force us to believe and accept these stories.
Yes.
So we don't hear about any African nation, the Bantu people, the Swahili people. These people don't exist during this time.
No, they don't even come into the Christian Judeo conversation.
Yeah, we don't exist anywhere.
No, they don't even come, but they predate all of these entities.
You mean during like Solomon time?
I don't even believe Solomon
where were
had
black
any
people?
times.
Where was Africa during Solomon time?
I don't believe Solomon had any times. I believe Solomon is an actual historical figment. The best case I could give to Solomon is that maybe he might be a collection of people, but I don't think, I honestly, me personally, don't subscribe that Solomon is a historical person.
So like history, fiction or none, right? It's it's about war. It's all about